Hi everyone, I'm Teresa Casolo from New York JCC. In today's video, I want to take a couple of minutes and talk to you about swim goggles and what you should look for when you're purchasing goggles for your child. Alright, so let's start off by talking about some things to avoid when purchasing new goggles. And one of the big things to avoid are any goggles that have a nose covering. This here is a dive mask. They're great for scuba diving and snorkeling, but not so great for children that are starting to swim at the beginner level. And that's because two essential skills that they need to learn is proper breath control and how to blow bubbles out of their nose and mouth. And by having the nose piece covered, they're not going to be able to get those skills down as best as they could without it. Another thing is children that tend to wear masks at the beginner stage are going to be someone that later down the road needs to hold their nose when swimming. So I just say for children, best to avoid a nose covering. Alright, next on the list, you want to avoid goggles that have hard plastics around the seal. And the reason for that is because when it sits on the face, first of all, it's uncomfortable, but also if they're stored improperly and the plastic gets bent out of shape, it's not going to sit on the face and have a proper seal, and water is going to get into the goggles. You also want to pay attention to how much space is in between the seal and the lens. So in this case, there is very little room, and what tends to happen in small goggles like these is they press against the eyelashes, and it's hard for children to open and close their eyes. They tend to find them very uncomfortable, as would anyone else. Last thing you want to avoid is goggles that have one strap. Especially for children, their goggles need to be very secure on the head, and with one strap, they tend to fall down much more easier than goggles that have two straps on them. Alright, so we talked about what you need to avoid when purchasing goggles. Let's talk about what you need to look for. First thing you need to look for is goggles that have a nice soft rim that is very flexible. This one happens to be a nice rubber. They're going to fit nice to the face and have a good suction to make sure that water stays out. You want to look for good spacing between the seal and the lens, and a nice flexible nose piece that can fit to any size and shape of nose. The ones that I have a very easy adjustment for the strap, so it's easy to loosen and tighten them. And it has two straps to make them nice and secure on the child's head. These goggles that I have are TYR's Swimple goggles. There's many like these out there, and personally this style of goggle is my favorite. I also have a pair by Speedo. This is just their generic youth goggle. This is also another great option. It has a nice soft plastic around the side. It has two straps, and it has an area to adjust the straps and make them looser and tighter. Those are things that you really want to pay attention to when looking for goggles that are going to help make sure that the goggles you buy are nice and snug, but also comfortable for your children.